Today we're going to tell you 7 reasons why you shouldn't go on a cruise ship.
Garbage. Hey guys, I'm Mike and welcome to Affluent Journeys. What I just showed you was the intro video from Sailing La Vagabonde's cruise ship's 7 reasons not to go video. Riley and Elena have a very nice YouTube channel. It's called Sailing La Vagabonde. Subscribe to it if you haven't already. I'm a subscriber myself, and I watch all their videos of their great life on board their $1 million ultramar catamaran, which they got on some type of a discounted lease deal from the company in order to promote it on YouTube. So I'm very happy for them for that, as many of you are as well. And then last week I saw this very unusual, off-topic, idiotic video from these two about something that they know absolutely nothing about, which you can tell just by watching the video. They have absolutely zero experience, zero qualifications to tell you the things that they said in those videos. A lot of those things are false, misleading, misrepresentations of the truth of cruising, and they have no qualifications whatsoever to tell it to you. They have been on 0 cruises. They have never set foot on a cruise ship from what I can tell. They didn't mention it in the video or any of their other videos. They've never done a cruise ship organized shore excursion. They talk about that and why that's so bad. I, on the other hand, am fully qualified to rebut this video and tell you the wrong things that they said. So my qualifications are, number one, I've been on 35 cruises myself as a consumer. I've spent my career in the travel business, either as a hotel employee, a cruise line employee, which they never were, and now as a professional cruise travel agent, which they are not either. So yes, I'm a travel agent. I represent most major cruise lines as a travel agent, and I recommend most cruise lines. They, on the other hand, as you can see according to their video, do not. And what I've thought was really weird about the video is that they apparently were offered a sponsorship deal by a cruise line, which would help them and give them more money to help pay for their kid that they have on the way, and they turned it down. And that's absolutely their right. They're not cruisers. They have a sailing channel. They don't want to promote cruising. They want to promote what they do, and that's absolutely their right. I have no problem with that they would turn down such a deal. What I find really weird is that instead of just turning it down, saying, hey, we were offered this, we turned it down because we want to do that, they decide to turn around and trash the entire cruise industry with 1 or 2 true items and mostly false and misleading statements, which we'll talk about today. So if you haven't already, make sure to like my video, comment down below about what you think about it, what you think about their video. Subscribe to Affluent Journeys here on YouTube if you haven't already. And give me a follow on Facebook. If you follow Affluent Journeys Facebook page and you're a luxury cruiser, you'll see all my special deals and exclusive offers there. And give me a follow on Instagram if you like. You'll see some other things that I do. So, number 1, let's see what they're complaining about here.
I like to think we've got a bit of street cred, so you can listen to us.
Oh, they have some street cred on this apparently, just because they say so.
Some of our adventures. So without further ado, number 1, money.
So a lot of cruise ships advertise a really cheap price, some of them around 60 to 70 euros.
Okay, so their number 1 reason not to go on a cruise, that you shouldn't go on a cruise, is because of money. Yes, cruises cost money. Everything in life costs money. That's a great reason not to go on a cruise ship, guys. You're spending a lot more money on maintaining your catamaran than what it costs most people to go on a cruise. That's an absolutely idiotic reason to tell people that they shouldn't go on a cruise. Even as funny enough, the website they pulled up is not a cruise line's website. It's a third-party website. Different cruise lines have different levels of inclusions, and the cruise lines these days are very transparent about what's included and what's not. And here's a factual statement for you. cruising compared to land-based vacations is a very good value when you consider apples to apples in terms of the level of quality and what they include and what they don't. To go on a Caribbean cruise, for example, which hops different islands day by day, let's say it costs you $5,000 to have a good room on the cruise with all the normal inclusions and all the taxes and whatnot included, would probably cost you substantially more to do that in an island hop, and it would be a big hassle with packing and unpacking your bags every day, going down to a port and jumping on a ferry, or taking airplanes in between all the islands. A cruise is a very convenient way to do that. So number one, that's a garbage statement. Money is not a reason not to go on a cruise. There's cheap cruises, there's expensive cruises, there's always a cruise that can fit your budget if you're one that's palatable to going on a cruise.
Number 2, huge crowds. The cruise ship propaganda machine, more on false advertising later.
Yes, the cruise ship propaganda machine. All businesses advertise their services in order to gain customers. It's not propaganda like you would have between Russia and the United States in the Cold War. Huge crowds. Yes, some cruise ships have crowds. Some cruise ships do hold 5,000 or more people. For example, the Oasis class on Royal Caribbean. But a cruise ship that holds that many people is built to accommodate that many people. So if you don't want to go on a cruise ship that big, you don't have to. You can go on a smaller cruise ship. There are cruise ships that hold 30 people, 50 people, 100, 500, 1,000, whatever number you want, you can get on a cruise ship that holds that amount of people. So huge crowds, it's partially true, but that's not really a reason not to go on a cruise at all. It's just more garbage from Sailing La Vagabonde, commenting on things that they don't really know, that they've never experienced, not even one time in their life.
Number 3. Not even really traveling.
Well, that's a
So
lot.
even though you might be able to return home and say that you've traveled to 5 different countries on your trip, I really think that...
Okay, so what Elena spews out here is, I think pregnancy hormones are messing up her brain. When you're going on a cruise, you are traveling. You're either flying to your destination to get to the cruise ship or driving, and then that cruise goes out in the water and it goes out to different islands or different ports of call, and that is traveling. So for you to say that it's not traveling, Elena, is a false statement. That's a lie. Yes, the cruise ships typically will stop for one day in a port for between 4 to 8 or 12 hours, depending on what's available in that port to see, how long it takes to see it, and the different requirements that the port may have. And Elena and Riley are showing a significant lack of knowledge or understanding of cruising and how it works, because the people who enjoy going on cruising are not concerned with that they need to stay in that particular port for days and days or weeks in order to see every little thing. That's not really the point of cruising. So misinformation and lies on the part of Sailing La Vagabonde on that regard.
One has ever sunk.
Cruise ship, you usually don't get enough time in each port, and because the activities are pre-booked, you don't really get a good representation of what actually goes on in this particular country.
I don't think any...
Sorry, Elena, that's a false statement. The pre-booked shore excursions, whether you pre-book them or book them on board or go out on your own, are a good representation of those ports of call. That's specifically the purpose of those shore excursions. Anybody can go and read the descriptions of the shore excursions and see what they represent or not, and pick and choose what's important for them to learn and represent from those particular ports of call. So that's a lie. You don't know what you're talking about because you've never been on a cruise and you've never done one of those cruise ship organized tours. I doubt you even read a description of what even one of those tours is. So that's garbage.
And it was kind of crazy making.
Reason 4, false advertising.
Okay, so their reason for is false advertising. What I think is really funny is that they show at least a 30-year-old video from Royal Caribbean without even really saying what they're advertising falsely. and they're and they're kind of being chickens there. They're trying to bleep out Royal Caribbean for some reason. If you're going to say that they're false advertising, why don't you say who's doing it? So no, the cruise lines are not falsely advertising their products. They've been advertising the way that they do for years and years and decades, and they're still doing it today, and they're still going to do it tomorrow. I'm sure there's been a few lawyers here and there that have tried to file lawsuits for false advertising, and if they won, they won, and if they lost, they lost. And probably there are instances where cruise lines had to pay a fee or a penalty or lost a judgment because of some advertising irregularities, or false advertising if you want to call it. But by and large, cruise lines are complying with the law in terms of their advertising, and all you have to do is read the terms and conditions of what they're advertising, and that will give you a full understanding of what's included and what's not. But looks like Sailing the Vagabonde here just wants to make a false claim that they're falsely advertising.
Reason number 5, local economy.
Local
you would be
economy.
into thinking that you would be probably doing the local economy a favour by travelling to the various places via cruise ship. In actual fact, what is happening is you pre-book your activities whilst you're on the cruise ship, and because they're masters of maximising profit, the majority or any of the profits will go to partnered agencies rather than the locals themselves. Just on that as well, in a similar vein to that, a lot of cruise ships will be operating under a different flag. What this means is that a lot of the crew that are working in...
Okay, so first, local economy. Partner agencies in those ports of call are local partner agencies. So that's a lie and a misleading statement by Riley that the local economies do not benefit from cruise ships. Cruise ships have to pay dockage fees every time they go to a port of call, which employs workers in those ports and adds to the local economy. So Riley, that's a lie. And now we're going to hear the next thing that you say.
Hidden places like, say, the engine room are going to be wildly underpaid international workers, for example, Filipinos. 5.
Okay, so that's another lie, Riley. Underpaid by whose standards? And by the way, I already know the answer to this, so if you want to rebut it, I've already got you beat on it. Cruise ship workers are not underpaid. The reason they're working on cruise ships is because they're underpaid in their home countries. They're typically impoverished countries where they work, and you mentioned Filipinos. And by the way, Filipinos are very hospitable and very hardworking people, and the reason they're working on cruise ships is because it's a better opportunity than what they have at home. Otherwise, they would stay home. Why would they go work on a cruise ship halfway around the world when they could stay home and make more money and stay with their families and that type of thing? So that's a complete lie. That's false. The market will bear in the world what people are being paid. I defy you to find someone who works on a cruise ship who says they're being underpaid. Maybe they'll say it. You know, everyone thinks they're underpaid. Everybody wants more money in life. And ask them, why are they still working on the cruise ship? Ask them why they haven't gotten another job where they aren't being underpaid. That's what determines whether someone is underpaid or not, whether they can get a better job that actually pays them more. So, the result of your video, Riley, will not help Filipinos or anyone else who works on a cruise ship be paid more. If the result of your video is for people to go on a cruise ship less and less, right? That's what you want out of your video. That will cause those cruise ships to be more empty. That will cause less money to be on those cruise ships. And that will cause those workers to be underpaid even more. So why don't you, Sailing the Vagabonde, put your money where your mouth is? Why don't you sublease your Sailing the Vagabonde catamaran, which you don't own, take the profits from that, take all the profits from your Patreon account, take all the profits from your YouTube revenue, and any other profits you're getting out of this, and send it to all those Filipinos who work on cruise ships so that way they won't be so underpaid. Let's see what difference that one makes.
Point 1. I'm going to sneak in here, Elena.
Thought you'd sneak that little one in?
Bit of a surprise. They're annoying.
Reason 5.1, they're annoying.
I've nearly been run over by one once. So
You nearly got run over by a cruise ship once because probably you weren't where you were supposed to be, and that's your fault. And actually, if you think cruise ships are annoying, that's an okay reason not to go. But you are annoyed looking at a cruise ship. You've never been annoyed on a cruise ship. And the people who sail on cruise ships are not annoyed because they book, they go, they get off, and then they book and go again. So that's your personal opinion for yourself, and for anybody who's watching, that is not a reason for you not to go on a cruise.
Please spare a thought for Riley.
Yeah.
And even Elena here has to say spare us, Riley, for that annoying comment.
Surprise, surprise, cruise ships are bad for the environment.
Cruise ships use heavy oils. They use about 150 tons per 24 hours at sea.
The exhaust pollution from one cruise ship alone.
So the next one is cruise ships are bad for the environment. And then they give out some stats there that maybe they got off of some website without any real research on their own. They just want to promote information that makes cruising look bad. But in actuality, on a per-person basis, a cruise ship puts out less pollution than cars or anything else out there on the road. And cruise ships are becoming more and more efficient every day. Old cruise ships are being retrofitted. New cruise ships are coming out with hybrid engines and all this new technology to lower their carbon footprint more than ever before. So that's really a misleading statement. It's misinformation, and it's mischaracterizing the cruise industry and what they're doing to protect the environment.
Countless cases of them illegally dumping their rubbish overboard.
Now, next thing they mention is that there are cases of them dumping garbage overboard. Unfortunately, yes, that has occurred in the past. And who knows, maybe it'll occur sometimes in the future when one worker decides, hey, I'm going to throw this overboard for whatever reason. And then they mention a case of a cruise line, which they were too chicken to mention for some reason. It's Princess Cruises. 1 or 2 years ago, they were fined $40 or $50 million for putting in pipes that ejected waste out of the side of the cruise ship illegally. And they paid their fine and they move on. I guarantee you Princess Cruises is not doing that now. Nobody else in the cruise industry is doing this now. And it's not a good reason for you not to go on a cruise unless you really don't want to go on a cruise.
The same thing, so it's a lot of waste.
Number 7, cruise ships are actually killing people.
Okay,
Research
number 7 is absolute garbage, and that is the absolute best reason why you should take this video and put it in the garbage. Cruise ships aren't killing anybody. That's a lie, Riley. You're a liar in that regard, and you're just spewing crap that you really know nothing about. So I don't have to say a whole lot about point number 7. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I've demonstrated enough with my qualifications and their lack thereof that this video should not influence your decision on whether or not you want to go on a cruise at all. Zero. You got 2 goose eggers right there, and you got me telling you that it's all garbage, and that's what it is. So that's my take on it. If you're a cruise-oriented YouTuber, please put your comments down below. I want to see them. And make your own video rebutting this as well. Maybe you'll do a better job than me. Maybe you'll put up a fancier video as well. So again, if you haven't already, please subscribe here to Affluent Journeys. Luxury Cruisers, follow Affluent Journeys on Facebook, and everybody give me a follow on Instagram. And I really appreciate your time in watching this. So please, thanks again, and stay tuned for the next one.